Oh, hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're taking a look at a Thor themed mecha here from Hemoxion. This is the Entropy of the Gods, the Legion of Thor mecha model kit. Now, fortunately, I'm getting this one a little bit early, so I'm really looking forward to taking a look at this. This is from a third-party company that is making this really cool looking kit. Massive box here, as you can see. With this being Thor themed, of course, its main weapon is this big massive hammer, which we'll see. It also has this really cool cloak, which is just kind of like an extra little accessory, but I actually really like the look of that. So let's go ahead and get into it for today's review. So like I said, guys, this is a pretty big and quite heavy box. Up here on the front, you can see this is the gift with the first goods, coal. So this is the first release version of this, where it's going to have some exclusive items only available with the initial release of this. But there you can see really cool box art here on the front, featuring that big massive hammer, of course, and it's got some cool kind of like lightning bolt style looking clear effect parts there on the front of the design, which look pretty cool. I can only assume that we're going to have some markings included with this as well, some waterside markings for all the decals and stuff around on this. But here on the side of the box, you can see another look at that. Like I said, it's got the hammer, it's got the cape. Also have some Gatling guns, it looks like, in there in the forearms or something. Some big massive cannons up there over the shoulder, of course, and some kind of big, like, kind of shield binders, it looks like, kind of over the shoulders or over the back side of it. On the other side of the box here, you can see what that's going to look like. That looks like a fully painted sample build there with, again, all the markings. So I'm guessing those are all going to be included here. Inside, some product information. There's some cool illustration work featuring this one. We got some product details there, showing some of the details of the armor movements and articulation of that, and some LED gimmick here. It says the whole body of Thor has rich mobility, and there is a linkage mechanism between the waist and the big and small legs. The weapon hammer can rotate, the kind of broken translation there. But anyway, an LED light emitting device for the Eye of the Gods of Thunder makes the whole model more vivid. So we have an LED unit there for the head, I guess, as well. Let's go ahead and bust it open and see what all we've got in here. So first up, we've got this kind of inner cover right here, which I'll show you guys. That has that really cool illustration there, the Legion of Thor, with the pilot figure looking very much like Gundam and Kashu up there standing atop the mecha there. Oh, and I almost missed this. On the back side of there, it gives you this kind of thunder scene. So this is something that you can use as a backdrop behind your model, which is awesome. That's a really cool, interesting idea, because I know that's something that I think a lot of people would enjoy, and it's a really good way to make use of this part. Normally, this is the part that just kind of fits in over the top. We used to see this on old Master Grade kits, right? Where you'd have that cool image, but it's really creative to use the backside of that as a backdrop for the kit. So that's really cool. As for all of the runners, we will take a look at those in just a moment. I'm just gonna dig down through those to find our other stuff here first. All right, so a couple of things. First off, here is that LED unit and battery, which is nice that that's included. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be, if the battery is going to be included in all future releases. A lot of times, batteries are not able to be shipped overseas, so don't take this as a guarantee that that battery is going to be included with yours if you are planning on getting the kit for yourself. In here, this says installation manual in this kind of wrapped card, but this looks like it's the cape, actually. If we open up, this is just kind of like a card. So yeah, this is the cape part, and so on that note, it has a wire on the edge so that you can actually change and shape the cape, which is awesome. So like the way this looks kind of tattered there at the end looks really nicely done. The quality of this material, it feels like really substantial, quite thick, and the fact that it has 3 wires, so a section up here, which I guess is probably going to go around like the top, and then a section of wire down each side of this. Seems like this is going to be really, really nice, that cape. So right in here on the inside of the card is the instructions for how to install that. I guess the installation tutorial. So it looks like it's going to be slightly complicated to get that on there, but I mean, you can't argue that with that effect. It does look really cool. So there's just that image. Once again, for the actual instructions here on mine, this is just pages that are stapled together. I don't mind that at all, and I am guessing that that's just because mine is an early copy. So I'm guessing that the full release of this, because you can see this like starts from page 3. So I'm guessing the full release is going to have a better like regular normal manual, and that mine is just like this just because it's the early one. That said, I mean, if this is what the actual manual is going to be like, I don't particularly mind it too much, although it is all in black and white. It doesn't have like any other color photos or anything like that, which is always nice to see in these type of manuals. But we do have some more of that information there and illustrations, which look really cool. And we do also have the decal guide right here. So I mean, like, everything's there. Everything that you need is there. It just doesn't have the nice color photos. So again, I'm not sure if that's what's going to be coming with the standard release or not. For our waterside decal sheet, as you can see, it's pretty large, and it looks like most everything's going to be here either in gray or in white. So you can see we have a lot of these really nice markings here for that. There's all the gray ones, here's all the white ones down here. So really nice waterside decals. And it looks like in this separate bag here, we do also have a couple of parts that are separated off the runners that have some pre-printed silver on them, a couple of white parts here. But getting into the runners, you can see where those are missing off of the A runner here. These are some parts in white. We've got 2 of this A runner. Runners B1 here and B2, of which we have 2 of, are some of the parts in this dark navy blue color. Runner C here is going to be the rest of our white parts for the kit. Some really nice details around here on the armor pieces. Runner D1 is some parts here in black, and then D2, we've got 2 of these, some more parts there in black. Runner E, also very dark, but this is in like a really dark, slightly bluish gray here. We've got 2 of this E runner. So a lot of parts on there. Runner F then is getting into this medium gray color, which we're going to have for a lot of the inner frame and detail type parts. Those look like mostly weapons parts on there. Here on Runner G, you can see there's some parts for the hands and some more parts for the internal frame parts, stuff like that. Just based on the size of the hands, I can see this is definitely going to be closer to like a 1/100 scale Gundam, if not even larger than that. So it's going to be a pretty big size kit. Runners H here and Runner I as well are some more frame parts there in that medium gray color. For Runner J here, we're switching back to that dark gray color for some more of those, 2 of that runner. Some more medium gray here for Runner K. You can see a lot of really great detail there on these frame parts. Runner L then, some more parts here in that dark gray, quite a few parts here. Runner M, some more parts in medium gray, 2 of those as well. Runner N1 is interesting in that we have one version which is just all plain clear, so I'm guessing we're going to use some of those, but then we also have another version of this which is in this bright neon clear orange. And you can see there's obviously some more pre-printed silver on a couple of those parts. And last but not least, Runner N2 also has a little bit of pre-printed silver on the inside of these parts. So I'm guessing that's going to be underneath where there's going to be clear parts. It's pre-painted with that really bright chrome silver, so those clear parts will shine really nicely under there. It's really cool that's already done there for you. So a lot of parts there, and I can already tell just by the amount of parts and the size of the parts, it's going to be a pretty good size, relatively complex model here for this one. So it should be pretty nice. As long as it doesn't have any fitting issues or anything like that, it's going to be very cool. So let's go ahead and get it put together and see what it's like. Alright guys, so here's the kit all built up. Look at this absolute beast of a kit. It's very large and it was super complex. I mean, you guys saw how many parts it has, but this actually took me a few days to get it put together, and that might sound like, oh, it took you a few days to put a kit together. That's not that weird, but it's long for me. It took me much longer than usual to put this kit together for a couple of reasons. Number one, just it has so many parts, but then also a lot of the parts, almost the entire kit, was also undergated for one, so that kind of also makes the process go a little bit more slowly. But it is a really complex kit, and the whole time building it, I actually kept thinking how it reminded me a lot of the Perfect Grade Strike or Perfect Grade Astray, in that the frame is made in a way so that everything moves basically in the frame, and this is definitely very similar to that. This doesn't have like a whole lot of like really tiny little itty bitty parts, anything like that. I don't think it has quite the parts count of like a Perfect Grade like the Strike or like the Astray, but it's definitely very similar to those, just in the complexity of the frame and just kind of the articulation of it, which we'll get into of course. But it's definitely a very impressive kit, and although we don't necessarily have a whole lot of like external accessories, we've got a lot of really cool stuff going on here with this one. So let's go ahead and start off with its accessories. And the first of which I think it's fair to call it an accessory, is that backdrop, which I wanted to use here at the start, but I'm gonna go ahead and put that away now just because I feel like it's gonna kind of be in the way. But that insert, which you can use as a backdrop, I think is a really cool idea and definitely would work well for a display for this in your cabinet or wherever you have it displayed on your shelf. But obviously its main accessory here is just going to be the hammer, which is 29 centimeters in length, and as you can see, there's a number of points along the way here where you can plug the hand in on there, so you get a really firm grip, because it is going to be pretty heavy. And at the end we have not only some really nice color separation with the silver piece underneath the orange piece, so that the clear orange actually glows quite well, we have some articulation in that this expands and these parts expand out, and when these expand out, it exposes some more silver right here. It turns this centerpiece, and this kind of pile driver pointed bit here at the end also extends out. So just to kind of show that to you guys here again, I'll try to do it very slowly so you can see it all kind of expands out from the center of that, which is pretty cool gimmick there for that. We've got the cape, of course, which I think will look really nice once we get that on there. I'll put that on in just a minute. And then we just got some other smaller bits here. Now these are just going to be like fingers to swap to change the pose. If you wanted to have open hands, you have to swap the 3 fingers, the single finger, and the thumb all separately. Those are all kind of separate parts that you have to swap out for changing the hand, or for like the gripping hand, like that, for holding onto the hammer. We got a couple of these different action base adapters here, so depending on what type of action base you wanted to be plugging this onto, there's ones that have like a different size hole there. And this is the one that you'd want to use for a Bandai action base right there, like that. And then we've got a couple of these adapter pieces like this, which are for removing these parts here off of the backpack, and you can plug them onto the back of the arm in place of these kind of cannons which are on there at the moment. You can just pop that off, remove that, and then you can plug these parts onto there instead, which I'll kind of show you guys in a bit. They sort of like act as a shield. Those parts kind of open up there like that. And that's about it for all of the accessories, other than kind of what you got going on there in the backpack, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second as we get into the articulation. But first, just as for like a size comparison, I don't have a 1/100 scale model kit like around that I can grab at the moment, but it's going to be about the same height as a larger 1/100 scale Gundam kit from Bandai, as the head height of this is around 21 centimeters in height, plus a little bit more there for like the cannons on the top. But for your reference to a 1/44 scale kit, you can see it's about a 1/44 scale Gundam kit is about the size of the leg of this guy. So it's a pretty large kit and very bulky. It's definitely got a lot more bulk going on than your standard 1/100 scale Gundam kit. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the articulation. And I say a little bit, but that means actually a lot to talk about, because like I said before, everything moves on this kit, and everything moves a lot. So like the head will move all the way up to there. I'm actually surprised that nothing in the head actually moves, except for this part, which I'm kind of wiggling there a little bit, and it will go down, and even this collar piece around the base of the neck there also moves up and down. So as you saw, as I lifted that up, the head will go down to there, then lift that up, the collar piece kind of raises up with the head. So I do also have the batteries installed in the LED, so I can turn that on for you guys. It's just a button right here on the top of the head, that little panel right there. You're just gonna touch that, press it, and that'll turn on the LED there in the head. So the head and the eyes light up like that, which does look pretty cool, even though it doesn't include LEDs to light up these other orange parts like in the chest or in the front skirt, because there's that like titanium silver printed underneath the clear parts. Those already look like they glow quite well, and so because there is no silver pre-painted underneath the clear parts in the head, it's nice to have that LED in there to light that up as well. Like when you look at it from a distance, the other clear orange parts already kind of give the effect. They already kind of look like they're glowing, so having an LED in there in the head just makes it look that much better. Anyway, like I was saying, basically everything moves on this. So these kind of thunderbolt parts here on the chest, you can move those around. Here in this kind of stomach ab section, we have basically kind of everything moving here side to side, and these parts here on the side will kind of move along with that, up and down as you're moving this side to side, forward and back. You also have some nice articulation there. You can see those parts kind of collapsing in on each other inside there. Then right below that, this skirt armor is just kind of attached at the back, so it's sort of free floating here on the front. This front skirt bit right here is a little bit odd in that it kind of tends to sink down, and it looks like it should be able to like plug onto there to keep it secure right there, like sort of be attached into place, but it's just on this like hinge and a ball joint, so it kind of tends to fall down like that, which is a bit weird. You kind of have to angle it up just right so that it stays there like that. Background on the back skirt, this is at a ball joint, kind of like right in the center, so you can kind of move this a little bit side to side, but the back skirt doesn't necessarily move around all that much. For the shoulders here, you can see when you move this joint, it moves along that whole like side of the torso, in and out there like that. Up here at the top of the shoulder, when this part rotates, the top part rotates around the whole shoulder. This flap here on the side, of course, moves up and down, and this part here on the top also is just attached via a ball joint, so this can actually move around there as well. And this has an interesting gimmick to it. And because the model is kind of heavy, it's hard for me to hold up the model and show you this gimmick at the same time, but this is the part from the top of the shoulder, and this kind of little booster or whatever here on the side actually expands out. And you can kind of see here, if you pop it out, it kind of helps to push it up a little bit from the inside and then pull this part down. This part, you can see when you do that, this expands out like that. So let me just push it back in there and try to show it to you guys again. It doesn't work as well as other aspects, but it is still pretty cool. So that just pops out there like that out the top of the shoulder. So on the kit, it's going to look like that with that expanded out, which is pretty cool. This whole shoulder armor, of course, will move up and down, and then we can bring the arm up nice and far. This whole part here kind of extends out. That will allow you to bring the arm all the way up like that. The rest of the arm works fairly normally here. You got some rotation there at the top, a double joint, of course, here in the elbow. And when you bend that, you have really nice separation here of these mechanical aspects there of that joint. Now it's black and dark gray, gonna be kind of hard to show you guys there on camera, but I'll do my best so you guys can see that, how that all extends out like that. Really cool joint there. You can see it on the front as well when you bend that, how those mechanical parts kind of bend and fold in on each other there for that joint. So really cool. Down here in the lower part of the forearm, you don't have your wrist rotating like at the base of the hand, but it's actually this whole black part will rotate like that, and then the hand will kind of bend in and out, moving this armor piece there on the back there at the same time like that. You can also then angle the hand out like this at that point of rotation right there. And as you can see, the thumb can move in and out like that, and also rotate like so, which looks a bit goofy, so you just kind of have to adjust the angle to the point where it looks like it's supposed to look. Then going down here to the legs. So the legs will go out to the side really far up into the front. You can see how the connection is kind of at an angle. So that will allow you to move it up really high, while it kind of also moves out to the side at the same time. So you're kind of clearing in between the skirting armor there. And for the knee bend, of course, we've got a pretty intense knee bend here where everything's gonna move. So as you start to move that, you can see it's separating the thigh armor right there. It's also gonna separate the knee armor here a bit as we bend that even further, and this part is extended out and up, and the parts at the back of the leg are folded in. Let me show you that from behind, so you can see like this part in here will all be folded into the joint as we bend the knee like that. And you can see this white part also kind of pushing down out of the way like that, so everything's all folded in. It's really cool. Another cool aspect of this knee armor is that we do have another weapon built into here. Is this kind of pile driver weapon, which will just extend out like that at the knee. So it's kind of cool. You have this big, huge knee armor, which isn't only armor, but also has some offensive capability built into there as well, which is pretty interesting. Going down here to this armor here on like the sides of the ankles, when you move the ankles side to side, you can see those parts will bend side to side like that, which again, very cool, very reminiscent of the PG. Down here in the feet, of course, we have plenty of articulation here as well. Toe bend, the whole front of the foot bends, the whole front of the foot will rotate side to side as well, and the same for the back of the foot. The back of the foot rotates side to side like that separately. And you can see here when you bend the toe how this mechanical part there on the bottom of the foot moves in and out there like that. So it's all very cool. Lastly, to talk about the backpack, I'm going to take that off and show you guys that you actually have a little hatch that folds down in there and covers the attachment point for the backpack. If you didn't want to have that attached onto there, you can cover that up. And for this, we have movement here of these parts side to side. You can rotate that. As I mentioned, these parts kind of fold out. You can turn and adjust these as well, bend in and out. These big cannons up here are attached via ball joints, so you can kind of adjust the angles side to side a little bit, rotate those forward and back. And of course, these also extend out like that for that gimmick. So while I'm sure that there's a few finer points of the articulation that I may have missed, I think you guys get the idea that this thing is pretty intense, how just everything moves on it. To be honest, to the point where it's almost like while handling the kit and trying to pose it, it's almost kind of a chore, because as you're trying to move one part, you're accidentally moving other parts kind of out of the way, especially like some of the armor parts on the outside, not like the main points of articulation, but you'll kind of have to adjust all the main angles of kind of how you want the pose to be, and then you'll have to go back and kind of adjust all the different bits that you kind of accidentally moved along the way while you're trying to get it into a pose. So it does take a minute to get it posed and to get everything looking right, but obviously it's going to look pretty incredible when you do. And the whole point of having so much articulation built into this is that you're able to achieve all these really natural looking poses with it. Again, very similar to like the Perfect Grade Strike, Perfect Grade Astray frame. But I gotta tell you guys, it's a pretty incredible kit. And aside from all the articulation, you do have a really good amount of color separation in there and a lot of details. So if you did want to go in and even not even do any painting on this, I mean, just do some panel lining, throw on your decals and some top coat, it's going to be a really good looking kit with just doing like that little bit of work on it. But of course, obviously painting it, and you could go and make this look even that much better. I think it'd be a pretty incredible looking kit when it's all painted up. As far as any work you would have to do before getting it ready to paint, like seam line removal or anything like that, there's not really any seam lines really worth noting, just because there's so much part separation and like the way that all the parts are built onto there, everything goes together. You don't really have any areas where you would have any seam lines really. So all it would take to get it paint ready is basically just some sanding around on some of the areas, and to get rid of some like mold lines or sinks and some of the more wide open areas maybe a little bit. But yeah, I gotta say, it's a really cool looking kit, and especially with that cape attached on there, I think that actually works super well. Like some people don't like the cape on the RG crossbone. I actually really do, but it's not actual cloth, so it is going to be fixed pose. If you want one that you're able to like adjust the pose on, and you're going to have to use real cloth, it's difficult to get it to look right. But this one, I think just straight out of the box, it actually looks really good, how the cloth is kind of tattered and how you have the wire in there, so you're able to adjust the angle to how you want it for any particular pose. So the cape works really nicely for this. Even the hammer, where you might think that's a pretty simple weapon, doesn't really do much, it's just a hammer. It's cool that they actually built a gimmick into the hammer as well to make that to expand, so it makes it a little bit more complex than, you know, just a hammer. So all in all, I think there's a lot packed into this kit, and you're definitely getting your money's worth with it. You know, between just the sheer amount of parts that go into it and the accessories like the cloth cape, like the waterside decals that you have included in there as well, the LED that you have in the head works nicely. And it's cool that's easy to turn on and off by just pressing the button on the head. You don't have to take anything apart or remove the backpack or anything to like reach the switch for the LED or anything like that. It's simple. So definitely a cool kit. I was surely impressed putting this kit together, and I think you guys will be too. You should check it out. If you like the look of it, I would highly recommend you guys check this one out. If you do want to pick one up for yourself, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam store. We've got this kit and a lot of other cool different mecha models there, of course, for you guys, but definitely check this kit out. The link to USA Gundam store is down there in the video description. And if you guys would also like to like or subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much for checking out the video today, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Till next time, hope y'all having a great day. See you guys later.